Good afternoon, it's Artzenin. Today, we're talking about the second part of Amber Fierce's past. This particular insight is very intriguing for me, even though Amber is being directed and conducted by Snowclaw. I still have to write some of what she's going to be doing. So I'm in her head and I can see it playing like a movie. So I know what Amber is capable of. And this particular fact for her is a game changer because previously Amber was all about Amber. She didn't care who got hurt. She didn't care who lived, who died. Amber was very selfish. Part of it was a defensive mechanism. She'd been hurt, she'd been used, controlled all her life. So in the original manuscript, when she was going to poach and go after a few people to keep close, that she would just only, ironically, do to them what had been done to her, because hurt people can only hurt people. They don't help people heal. So now she's actually paying very close attention to how she's treating people, what she wants from people, and what she will expect in return. When it comes to Deja Chamont, Amber thought there for a hot minute she met somebody who could not beat her, but be her equal. In reality, what happens is she met her match and then some. Amber openly tells Deja she is not a Christian. She doesn't want to be a Christian. She sees, though, that Deja is playing both sides. Maxine's over here, who Amber is observing the whole Deja-Maxine soulmate thing and the fact that they were both going to the church, and then Deja's with her, and then she's back with Maxine, and Amber's not stupid. She sees the double life that Deja is doing. At first, it didn't really bother her that Deja was pretending to be a Christian around Maxine, because she just didn't have the heart to tell her that the Lord wasn't for her, holiness wasn't going to be her thing, she was all about the flesh, and she was just trying to spare Maxine hurt feelings. Amber was okay with that until she observed Maxine and Maxine's personality and how it reminded her of her friend who passed away. And it bothered her. All of a sudden, Amber is upset that Deja is not being honest with Maxine, who she has yet to even get up with the way that she wants, because Maxine is actively avoiding her and she's still waiting for Deja to set up the meeting. A meeting that never happens. And Amber picked up on that too. She has been waiting patiently for Deja to pick a day in the school year, during the summer, vacation, holidays, anything, anywhere would have been fine. But no. She's still tapping her foot and shaking her head, wondering when Deja is going to finally let the two meet. The only way she's going to get to Maxine is through Deja. That's obvious and very adamant to Amber at that point in her relationship, in her observation. So what's the holdup? Why isn't Deja letting these two girls meet? Because Amber figured out all on her own that if that happened, Deja would get caught. And Deja didn't want to be exposed. This also upset Amber. Does she tell Deja she's on to her? She wanted to, but other events happened in their past that prevented her from basically calling Deja out on her garbage and playing them both, essentially, because that's exactly what it is. And that's great because, again, this is the Christian version of Life is Strange. Deja is my Chloe. Amber is my Rachel. Maxine is my Max. And if anyone knows Chloe, she did have a tendency to boast about Max when she was around Rachel and boast about Rachel when she was around Max. In some respect, it seemed like Chloe wanted the best of both worlds there. And these are two separate people. They're not supposed to mesh together. So I'm making Deja pull that. But at the same time, Deja is just being true to her character right now, to her selfish, conniving, controlling nature. So this whole thing about Christianity, what's going to happen there? In the original manuscript, Amber was never going to be a Christian in the beginning. At the end, the very end of Snapshot, not something more in the prequel, but Snapshot, she was going to get saved last season. There's 4 seasons, and they're all huge. So there was going to be this huge timeline and series of events and unfortunate situations that would happen to Amber, those involved with her in her adult life in France, before she even came to terms that, okay, I want the Lord and I need the Lord in my life for the right reasons. She gets saved in Purity Vale, Oregon. So Deja's biggest flaw is, well, I guess Amber and Deja's biggest flaw is that they want to be alphas. Right? They want to express dominance in a relationship. They both like the idea, the concept of having control of their life and who comes and who goes. So when Amber was running with Deja and she thought that that was her equal, which made her really happy, she gets duped. She got played by Deja. And when it dawned on her that this happened, Amber lost it. She, for once, for the first time in her life, got cheated and beat. And because she's the competitive type and she is an alpha, and it was Deja Chamont who did it to her, her soulmate, she's going, whoa, who are you, Deja? Who are you really? This event came about for Amber with the vault. All of these girls are going to be connected by one common denominator in their past. In these insights during the production phase, I definitely found that the vault and the prince in the vault, that demon, is what triggered all of the girls in different ways. Where Deja was happy to release the prince, Amber felt betrayed by the whole thing. She was not okay that this demon that she can actually see has just been released. And she watched this deal go down between the prince and Deja. So before the vault, she was informed of the folklore, well, not really lore, the actual facts that somewhat became folklore. And Deja failed to inform her that it was spiritual based versus, oh, it's just some people and they were part of the occult and they were worshiping some fake deity. She didn't use those words. She didn't piece it together like that. She left everything spiritual out on purpose so Amber would follow her to that place. Deja didn't want to go in alone. Deja was a little bit scared, but Deja was bold and she wanted to see if she could get Amber to go where Maxine would never go. So, of course, when she presents, well, Maxine wouldn't go with me, Amber jumped to that and she was hyped, like, oh, I'm going to beat Maxine at something for once. Yes. But then she gets down there and she sees this transaction happen between Deja and the prince. And the prince looks at Amber in his ugly glory, in his terrible form. And he smirks at her and he basically says, I'm going to get you too. She knew who I was. She was actually a Christian. The light of Yahweh, the last little bit of light that Deja had, she used it to release this prince. And the prince is basically saying to Amber, hey, she knew, but you have nobody to save you. You can't use bullets and you can't use guns. You can't use chemicals. You can't do anything. I am a demon. I am a spiritual being. I am so more than what you think. Your physical weapons got nothing on me, honey. I'm gonna get you. because you are in a gray zone. You don't want heaven. You don't want hell. What are you, agnostic? Are you atheist? What are you? It doesn't matter, because in the spiritual realm, we know what's up. We know that there is a heaven and a hell. And if you are gray, if you undecide, sorry, honey, that's still a choice. And if you're going to say, I don't want anybody, it doesn't work that way. There is no third choice. If there was a third choice, Elohim would have told you that. But there's not. By you standing still and crossing your arms and turning your head the other way, you have surrendered your rights. Whether you like it or not, agree with it or not, that's spiritual politics. You haven't made up your mind. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to get you. Deja, I have. But what about you? It freaked her out. This encounter, this specific encounter where the demon can just see right through her. And he is blatantly telling her spiritual politics and how it works. That being agnostic, being atheist, being in the gray, not choosing either side will not work when she dies. He is telling her what he's going to do. He is hoping that she stays this way because he wants to kill her. Hell is humanity's adversary at the end of the day, especially for the Christians. So to the demon, they don't care if you're black, white, Republican, Democrat, independent. They don't care what your race. They don't care if you're LGBT, transgender, associating to this, associating to that, hailing under this religion, hailing under that paganism. They do not care. They could care less. They have humanity completely duped in that way. Go read Enoch. They boast about it. They mock us for this. And because the book is a proven historical document and Christ has been proven that he was a real guy, not just a good prophet like the Muslims would have people believe. He was a real person, real celestial, came down, got crucified, raised again. And this prince in my story is saying to Amber, Christ is real, but he ain't anywhere in you. I'm going to kill you. And there is nothing you can do about it. They don't know you. You refuse to have light. You refuse to repent. So my team gets to mess you up. So scared was she. And then thinking, my soulmate brought me here, knowing that this was, what? What Christian does this? Deja's a terrible person. She's more terrible than Amber. And Amber has some pretty bad intentions and homicidal thoughts towards some individuals in her life due to how she was treated. But Deja, to say she walked with the Lord and she knew the spiritual politics and the way, the light. And she took her downstairs into that building onto an occult, abandoned estate and introduced her to the prince. She goes home and she goes to her room and she hits her knees and she says to not just any deity, not to the fake gods that are just demons parading around. She cries out to Yahweh and says, don't let him hurt me. Don't let this guy get me, please. She was so scared. She understood in that moment she had to choose. She didn't choose the Lord because the demon forced it. She'd already been taught about religions, but she thought it was interesting that this demon wasn't pushing her and saying just any name. He only acknowledged Yahweh. That got her thinking. And she started to revisit all these pagan deities and the dates that they were established. And she found some very interesting points. She discovered that, these deities are all claiming that they live in the same domain and that they're all knowing, yet Yahweh knew who they were, and he said their names, but they can't say his names. They say that they're all creators, but they're in the same domain. And if we're all made in the same image of our deity, why don't we all look like our deities? Like, she started critically thinking and asking those questions, all because this prince looked at her and said, I'm going to kill you. So this is the second part of Amber's past and what drastically changed her view on the Lord and what motivated her to get saved. It wasn't necessarily fear. It was just, okay, Deja did this. She betrayed me. How can I preserve myself and not have that thing touch me? Next week, I'm going to talk about how her past will connect into Li Jiyu. There's a big missing factor there that you can only find in something more. See you next time. Much love. Bye.